Hi everybody, this is Lana. I hope you're having a wonderful time. I hope you had a good Lionsgate portal activation. I know many of you guys were feeling it. I know I felt it. It was pretty intense. The energy is leading up to the point of the 8-8. And they continue to settle. The energies are still settling, and we are going through the process of integration, and we will be doing this until the 12th and then less so. But for now we are still in the mid phase of integrating these new energies, and as twin flames, as awakened souls, we are receiving a lot of activations, and some of you a very gentle push into your mission, and some of you a very big push again to tear down whatever was there from the old energy, whatever paradigms you had and whatever ideas you had about yourself and about others and about your relationship, and especially depending on how your astrology is at the time. But if you are a twin flame, you're probably re-examining your relationships up until this point, love relationships, some people coming back from the past bringing messages. I was also receiving as information of what's going on that many of us are having like very pivotal experiences right now, to close cycles out or to begin to be more fully on our mission. And these can be sudden events. These can be for some kind of sickness, but not really something to worry about, but more like when you get the flu or you get a cold and you get or like stomach aches and stuff like that, which is helping your body to release some of the old and to anchor the new energies through the water bodies in the body. So through the liquid part in us. And also I have been seeing that many of you will be moving, like a lot of trips, moving around places to go into grid work. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with grid work. This is one of my favorite things ever. One of my favorite topics. I'm a huge fan in the arts of the whole land art movement, because I think it's very connected to the grid work that we are doing currently as spiritual workers. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. It was an art movement in the 60s. And it was basically in the US, and the artists started to work in the land, in the fields, in the countrysides, and they brought art there. And this is something that I have always admired, because it has to do with connecting and fully grounding in the spiritual energy into the motherland, so into the earth, to remind ourselves that as spiritual beings, we are also kind of part of our mission is to anchor these spiritual energies and these upgrades into Gaia, into the earth. So many of you might be working with the earth at this time to assist. Maybe you are just your mere presence in a place is enough for you to start anchoring the light. And you can do this by consciously, by simply meditating or being wherever you are, to just take the time and connect to the earth and connect to God, to spirituality, your spiritual energy, your spiritual channels. And just ask that anything that needs to be downloaded at this time in that particular particular place where you are, that it is done, and that anything that you might be holding on from the past, or anything that might be cleared through your particular timeline from that place, that any old curses or any old energies of the old paradigm, that they may be cleared. And through your consciousness, you can do this through your intention. You can do this very simply and focusing on your breath always. Your breath is the energy that moves. It's energy in motion. So you can use it as a way to lead you to release these energies and to pull in the energies that need to be anchored in there. As you can hear, my voice is not quite back yet. I was pretty ill just before my trip to the US. So I know many of you heard about this, and I thank you for understanding and for giving me the time to recuperate. Because when I'm sick, of course, I'm not able to do healings, so I had to postpone a couple of healings here and there, but I'm getting to them now. So thank you so much for your patience, and also thank you for, being patient on YouTube as well. I know it's been a while since I uploaded my last video. So I wanted to talk to you about the energies of the twin flames right now. So I've been getting a lot of comments and a lot of concerns about what's going on with twin flames, what's going on with the energetics. And what I have been seeing in my own experience is that we are completely upgrading everything that we ever knew about this concept. And it's kind of like erasing the past. It's kind of like finally letting go of, a memory of an abusive childhood in order to be able to create a new life where that abusive childhood has no impact anymore on the way you behave and on the way you create your new path for yourself. So part of the things that we do as light workers is that we heal and we clear our past in order to be able to start over again every day. Almost every breath is a new opportunity to start over. So when we are going into our spiritual journey, we start to, it's not like we forget. You don't forget what happened, but the things that happened in the past, the hurts, the pain, and all the, let's call it negative experiences, or the experiences of our shadow self, these become less and less frequent, and the energy of those experiences starts to dissolve, and it doesn't permeate into our current situation, to our present life anymore. So when we are in the midst of it, or when we are coming out of this, or when we are healing something, there's always a sensation of having this kind of wave of the past coming over our present and kind of casting a shadow. That's why I like to refer it as a shadow. But when we start to focus more on the light, because that's the way we cast the shadow away, let's say, we start to focus more on the light, we start to focus on the present moment, we start to love ourselves more, and we start to learn how to be more compassionate and how to forgive and how to forget, and also how to become empowered and how to stop being the victim. Because victim mentality is something that, of course, if we got hurt and we had a terrible childhood or whatever, it's very easy to get stuck in the importance of being a victim, or of having endured something. And sometimes this importance that we give to these events, which were hard, this starts to build energy around it. And the more we focus on that, even if we're healing it, if we focus on it too much, we start to give more energy into that part of us that identifies itself as a victim. So we can blame everything in our lives to this particular event, or we can blame a person in our life for the outcome of our lives, of our current lives. And we tend to blame, we tend to judge, and we tend to try to find someone who's guilty for whatever situation we're going through. But we do that when we are not fully healed. So this is the part of the ego that still is trying to pin all of these situations to someone else, so that we can avoid the harshness or the responsibility of having lived through it. But on the other hand, when we empower ourselves and when we start living more from our soul's perspective, our soul embraces us completely and fully. So we start to develop this relationship to ourselves and to the things that we lived in a compassionate way. The same way a mother would embrace a child even after that child did a whole mess in the house, for example, or painted all the walls in the house. Like a part of us is maybe like saying, well, you could have done this better, or this is not where you should paint, or there can be this part of correcting. But then there is the embrace. So then there's it's okay, it's okay, it wasn't so bad, and after that the child feels the release, the relief. If you forgive yourself, you can finally get the closure and finally get the relief and the release of that situation. If you don't forgive, if you don't embrace, that energy continues to build, because there is a resistance there. So there is a resistance to forgiving, there is a resistance to forgetting, and there is a resistance of embracing that even the worst situation that could have happened to you, if it did, just taking yourself in the arms and saying, it's okay that happened. And I know it's tremendously hard to do that sometimes, and especially if you had very difficult experiences and maybe repeated experiences over longer periods of time. But the more we practice to embrace those parts of us, to embrace ourselves as a child, as you would embrace a child who is innocent, that way we connect to that innocent part in us, and that way we can start to grow and develop as a soul. And when we start growing and developing as a soul, this activates all of our bodies, so our mental, emotional, spiritual, and all of the other bodies that we have, even the physical. And it's like a sign of you are ready. You're ready to grow, and you're ready to grow in a way that is integral. So in a way that all of your bodies and all of these aspects and facets of you are working together and developing together. Because often after a trauma or any type of bad experience in your past, this usually leads to one of the bodies shutting down and some of the bodies developing more than the others. So there are people who would rather cope by analyzing everything and using the mind to do everything. So they can be very intelligent, very logical, and very structured, but there is a sense of lacking in emotions and lacking emotional growth, emotional maturity, and emotional stability. So this is just one aspect of how it can play out. It can play out in many different ways, but if you feel any imbalance, now it's a really good time to really focus on where the imbalance is, what you may feel that you're lacking, or where it is in your life that you may be lacking attention, and what body exactly. And when you work with the bodies, it's very it simplifies many things. So you can see, okay, is my physical body okay? Is my emotional body okay? Are my emotions okay? Am I over emotional? Am I under emotional? Am I too attached to certain emotional situations in my life? Or am I emotionally codependent with people? And you can also analyze the mental level, the mental body. So am I relying too much on the logic? Am I unable to let go, to surrender? Am I unable to believe? Am I not having enough faith? Am I not allowing myself to be the magical being that I am, to connect to that divine part in me? And you can also see, like, your physical body. How is my physical body supporting me or affecting me right now? Do I need to do something? And this is something that we are looking at as twin flames individually, because we are starting to receive from the Lionsgate, and now on until the end of the year, we are starting to integrate both polarities in ourselves even more. So wherever the masculine wasn't integrating their own divine feminine inside of themselves, they will be kind of forced or pushed to look into these situations where they weren't embracing their feminine side as much. So in a male, that would be embracing their, for example, their quality to, or their capacity to receive, to surrender, to just receive love, to be patient, to embrace, to nurture themselves, to nurture other people, to put other people first, to not be so focused on objectives, on missions, on things, on specific things that need to be done, but to really enjoying the ride. That would be connecting to their feminine nature, or their inner divine feminine. And for the divine feminine, the parts where she hasn't been connecting to her divine masculine, her inner aspect of divine masculine, those are the things that we will be starting to see right now. So maybe where there's a lack of drive, or a lack of structure, or there are hundreds of ideas, beautiful ideas, but wherever there is not enough energy to perform them, or to really carry on those ideas, to really write them down, to really do that, that's something that a lot of divine feminines tend to struggle with, to really put all these inspirations and all these things into action, and to take the time to structure the way they will act, and to really be able to carry forward their own lives, their projects, but also their mission in life. So this is something that we are looking at, and this is bringing forth changes also in the physical body, because we are upgrading our divine feminine and divine masculine energetics, and we are bringing in more union within. It's like we are creating this androgynous being, right? So if you see in the philosophical texts, and the texts of Alchemy, and the ancient texts, there was always this image of a person who was half a woman and half a man. And this depiction has been used quite a bit to describe twin flames, and I think it's very accurate, and I really like it. It's also like Shiva and Shakti, because it really truly embodies the principle of what twin flame energetics are. So the union of the feminine and the masculine within, in the body, through the physical body, from the divine. So bringing the energies from the divine, activating the divine feminine and the divine masculine in the flesh, so in the feminine and in the masculine aspects of each one of us, which includes also our hormonal system, our endocrine systems, all our organs, our blood, our cells, everything. This is upgrading our capacity to hold these high vibrational frequencies and this energy that had never been in the planet before. So we are upgrading at an individual level, at like partner level, but also at a collective level. So this depiction of the, this androgynous being is pretty amazing if you want to go look at it, because it represents also the alchemy and the alchemy of the elements. So it represents the 4 or the 8 directions of the world, and it's basically the perfect balance between all these elements, the metals, all the natural elements, the directions of the world, the astrology. So it's like all of these, everything converging into one point of union. And that is like the 0 point and the neutral point, and from that everything can emerge. So we are kind of getting into that place. We're slowly balancing out. Of course, everyone has their own timelines, and this is something that will continue to happen. But if you're awakened, if you're listening to this, if you have been on your spiritual path and in your spiritual journey, you're likely feeling like you have a twin flame, or you feel like you are reaching this kind of this completeness, or this union, or this unity within yourself. And this is right now on the foreground. So this is more important right now than anything else external. So this is what I wanted to talk to you also, because I know in the first parts of the journey, in the beginning, or even in relationships in general, we tend to focus on the other, we tend to focus outward. But it's really a time to start focusing inward and to really knowing, feeling, and seeing, okay, what is it that I am? What is it? Where is the union in me? Where is my integrity? Where is my am I a whole? Am I a whole being? Do I feel whole? Do I feel like I'm complete? This is the first part, and the first, what I would call the first mission as a twin flame, let's say, to really understand the wholeness that you are and the holiness that you are. And from there, things start moving faster in another direction. It's like you start elevating, and you start really being put in your path, or you start putting yourself in your path and in the right state of mind and in the right state of being for you. So each of us have to discover what makes me feel at peace, what makes me feel loved. Can I love myself? Have I ever tried to love myself? Do I know even how to love myself? And maybe you don't. I think, and I have found, the majority of people have no idea how to love themselves. And I was one too, we are all learning, we are all put here with different missions and in different paths to learn different things. But this is one of the key things that we all have in common, that part of how do I love myself if no one ever showed me, or if I didn't experience that, how can I emulate that? And this love of self is the most important love. That's the love that will nurture you always, today and forever, and always. And that's really when you learn to love yourself, or when you start, even if you just start with a very, very, very small step, each look, each word that you say to yourself when you are loving yourself, it makes a huge difference. It impacts your body, it impacts your energetics, and it impacts the way you relate with your environment and with other people. So this is like the self-initiation, and this is also the self-initiation for anyone who is in a spiritual journey. I know my teacher, one of my shamanic teachers, he said, when I was in the beginning of my journey, and I was telling him, how horrible my childhood was and my life and all these things, and like trying to find reasons why I felt that I was like so big in this big hole, and he was just looking at me, and he was like, you know what, you just have to learn how to be your best friend, and that's your mission right now. Because I would tell him, well, what do I have to do, like, and he was like, okay, lesson 1, be your best friend. Just be your best friend and stop telling me all your stories. And I was like, wow, okay. So I had no idea how to do that, but I started becoming that, embodying that, and I was usually a pretty good friend with my friends. So I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to treat myself like I would treat my best friend. And very slowly I started to discover the self-love that I had in me, or the love that I had, because it's not like a state of doing. When we are in self-love, it's actually our natural state. So throughout our lives and throughout the way we cope with things, we find a huge amount of reasons and excuses not to love ourselves, or to withhold that love from ourselves that is actually inside of us. So it's kind of like playing hide and seek with something that is innate and something that is already wanting to grow, and that is always growing inside. So much of the thing of the initial steps into self-love is that we have to tear down all the reasons we built mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, in order not to love ourselves. So wherever you find a reason that prevents you from loving yourself, tear that down. That's your mission. That's your mission right now. To just tear it down and replace it with a good reason to love yourself, which you actually don't need. It just happens. So you tear those walls down, and you will see how easily and effortlessly the love starts to flow to each part of your body. And this is, for me, part of what healing is. For me, healing is just learning how to direct the energy of love, this energy that is innate in all of us, and to just give it an intention and give it the purpose of growing, basically, of growing effortlessly and with no barriers. So what we do in energy in order to heal is remove the blockages that are preventing any part of your body, your mind, your psyche, your emotions to heal, because that's what your body naturally does. If you cut yourself, your body will heal. That's what it's meant to do, and that's what love does. Love heals everything. Love nurtures. Love tears all the walls down. So love innately is unity, right? So if we really think about what love is and what the energy of love is, it's actually union with everything. So where there is no separation, there is love. So this is one of the concepts that we need to understand in our journey towards self-love, and also in the journey towards loving someone else. Usually what happens in relationships is not really that the other person is not loving you or you're not loving the other person, but there is probably a block which is preventing you from loving yourself and that person from loving themselves. And that's when the energy stops flowing, and that's when there are conflicts, and we usually tend to blame the other one because the other one is our mirror. But if we are awakened beings, if we are on our spiritual paths right now, what we are doing is we are getting rid of all of these blocks and barriers and walls to our self-love, so that when we actually connect to another person, to another being, we are able to present ourselves fully and completely and whole and in our self-love. And with that, everything can flow. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be challenges in relationships, because that's why relationships are there. They are to teach us also, and to teach us our highest qualities, but also our deepest shadows. So we will always find lessons, and we will keep evolving, and we will keep working. But the foundation will be based on love and not on separation. Okay, so this is something that's very important right now for all of the twin flames, and also even if you don't relate to that label, I use it because I really think that it describes the merging and the union that we are bringing in as a collective, and this unity consciousness that is anchoring through all of us. And it also really serves to bring in all of you guys and all of the people who are working on this consciously or unconsciously, to be able to find this information. And I think this is also building a community of awakened beings. And this is my hope, that it continues to do that, and that it continues to elevate, and that we as a collective continue to elevate these concepts and to really fill them up with our own energy and with our own conception and with our own perception of what everything is. So whatever I say, you can have a completely different view of everything, and that's okay. You have to find your own truth. This is something that I cannot give you. This is something that no one else can give you but you. You know what your truth is. You know who you are, and no one knows you better than you. And you carry your energetics, you carry this divine intelligence in you, you carry all these healing qualities, you carry all this love in you. You just have to be able to see it for yourself, to take your glasses off literally and see it, because it's there. It has always been there, and it's your divine right. I'm just here to remind you of that. Okay, in talking about healing, I am doing this self-healing course. I talked a little bit about it in another video, and it is going to start in September. So right now I have an early bird discount. So if you're interested in the course, please let me know. It's almost half priced of what it's listed as in my website. And you can also just email me and I can send you the details to enroll. I have a few spots left still. So please let me know if you want to participate in this. I will teach you basically the tools that I use to heal myself, to heal my patients. And we're going to start with a very basic module, which is going to be discovering your light. So really anchoring this light, anchoring the self-love that I was talking about, and connecting you to your divinity so that you can start to receive your own information, receive your own guidance, to trust your intuition, to understand how you heal, how your body is meant to heal, and how you can heal others through your own particular energetics, because we all function differently. And we all have different capacities and qualities. And in this course, we will see and find out which are your particular capacities, what is your like strong point right now, and how you can assist others too. But we're going to start with you, with yourself. So how you can heal yourself and how you can empower yourself. And of course, this will also help tremendously in your twin flame journey if you're in your spiritual journey. So this is the basic tools to developing your spiritual practice as a light worker or as an awakened being who wants to go deeper. So let me know if you want to participate in that, and I will send you everything. And I also wanted to say I will be in New York the last 2 weeks of September. I will be giving one-on-one healings there, and a very good friend of mine, she's helping me set up the space, and I will let you know as soon as I have more details for the group healing. And for one-on-one sessions, you can email me and we can figure out the schedule or the dates that will work for us better. I think I will be opening 2 days where I will be seeing one-on-one patients. And let me see if there's anything else about the twin flames that I wanted to say. Oh yes, about the physical changes that we're experiencing. I was also seeing that divine feminines might be having some kind of like fluctuations in weight, in your weight, and also in your cycles. And this is due to all the integration of energy that we're doing. Like, we are anchoring so much light, and in order to anchor this, we need a lot of water. So that's also why we need to be drinking a lot of water and taking care of our physical bodies, and also for the divine masculines, and especially the ones of you who are meditating and who are doing any kind of spiritual work. The more you drink water, the better, and you can also expect to see some changes in your body and upgrades in your body. So it may show in the beginning as a small illness or sickness, but it's actually your body purifying itself and being able to anchor higher frequencies. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. I hope you guys are doing well. I will do another video about sacred sexuality and also the changes that we are experiencing in the sexual energies and the sensual energies, especially for twins and for awakened souls, because I got a download about this too a couple of days ago. So it was great to be here with you again, and I'm sending you so much love, and please take care of yourselves. And if you have any questions or any comments, I'm here for you. Okay, so I'll see you very soon.